What's up, comic book nerds? Welcome to episode 25 of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. If you are joining us live right now, thank you for participating. And if you are a first timer, we are a book club for people who like to read comics. Every week we take a different story arc or a collected volume, which we read along together. Then we gather on a Wednesday via these live streams, which go out on Facebook and YouTube to share our thoughts, views, reviews, and opinions on the book that we've read. So if you have read along this week or you've read this book previously, stick around and share all of your views with us and your review scores. So let's refresh people's brains on what we are reading this week. We have been reading Locke Key Volume 1, which I think is more accurately titled Welcome to Lovecraft. This was published by IDW in 2008 and collects issues 1 to 6. It was written by Joe Hill, which some people may know or may not know. He's the son of the novelist Stephen King. The art was by Gabriel Rodriguez. The color was by Jay Photos. The letters were by Robbie Robbins. So good they named him twice. And it's edited by Chris Rail, who also wrote the first adaptation for Shaun of the Dead comics for IDW as well. There you go, folks. There you go. That's what we're reading. I think a lot of people are excited for this one, I think, from looking at Instagram and the messages and stuff this week. So let's get to the introductions, folks. As always, I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, and they are, first up, we have the man who has the keys to your heart. It's Phil from the YouTube channel, Phil's Nerdyverse.
Hey, everyone.
We have the man who has the keys to the kingdom. It's Shane from Dawn of Comics.
Hello, 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 hello.
And we have the man who's constantly looking for his car keys. It's Scott from the YouTube channel, Scott Show.
Hello. I feel like that was a very big, that was a QI moment, you know, where they have the funny thing with Alan on the buzzers with the QI. That was me then.
I was going to refer to you as the guy who asks whose keys are these, but
whose keys are these? Whose keys are these?
There we go. That's us. That is the Nerd Herd, and let's meet all the people joining the herd for this Wednesday. Let's take a look who's in here. We have our friend Tom from This Month in Movies saying good evening, Nerd Herders. We have Liam Cartwright joining us. Evening, peeps. We have Comic Bound joining us. Adam's here. Hey guys, been looking forward to this one all day. Yeah, me too. And good boy. We have Sean the Noob. Evening, peeps. Looking forward to opinions on this one. I'm in there as well. That's weird. Hello, says Firehawk. We have Caroline joining us. Hey guys. Subshock's in here as well. Evening herders. We have Sif Lordley. Hello, Nerd Herd Comic Book Club and chat. Daryl's here. Welcome, Daryl. Hope you well. Just scrolling on down here, see who else we have. We have Comics versus the World joining us as well. TB Collects. He's here. Phil's there. I can see Phil. You're in here as well. And we have Matt here. I haven't seen Matt. I spoke to him earlier today. It's been a while since me and Matt spoke, but Mystery Knight Brown, he's here. And I do believe, have I missed anyone? Scott, you always double check me.
I don't think so. I have had a good look, and I don't think so.
We're all clear.
You missed Beth last time, but she hasn't piped up, so it's all good.
That's why I'm asking you, buddy. I don't want to incur the wrath of Beth again. Like
he won't make that mistake again.
No, I certainly won't. No. Okay, so that's what we're reading, and as always, we kick off with a synopsis of the book, and that is usually delivered by who chose this pick, and that would be Scott. Ooh. Over to you, mate.
What a surprise. So Locke Key is about a family who unfortunately had, like, the father of the family was murdered, and they moved to this house called Key House. And the youngest child there, he discovers that there are some magical keys in this house, but there is an evil creature or monster or person, whatever you want to call it, lurking around the place, trying to manipulate little Bodhi into doing what she wants to get what she wants. And with the also little subplot of the murderer getting out of jail and finding his way back to Key House. Very good. Really enjoyed it.
There we go. That is the synopsis, folks. And all right, let's just get straight into it. Shane, you want to start us off on this one?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The art, what I do every time you tell us what we're reading next, I will look at the first page before I even start reading, like days before I start reading. I look at the first page to see what kind of mindset I need to be in, because if the art's going to be terrible, I have to be in that mindset. And as soon as I saw the first page, I just fell in love with the artwork. So I was well happy, and I absolutely adored it. And the story was great as well, which was a nice bonus.
With the artwork, I got to admit, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, you know, it's not usually my kind of style. Did anybody else have that first reaction, or were you wowed like Shane?
The faces are definitely animated. Like the picture you put up when, the big picture you put up when you introduce the book and whatever, the little face you put in, the faded bit, then his eyes were everywhere, teeth out, you know what I mean? It was a bit very animated, a bit over exaggerated, but most of the time they're good. It's just when some like serious emotions going on where these kind of faces are pulled.
Yeah, comic band scene here. Gabriel Rodriguez was an architect. You can really tell by the way he constructs everything, like the buildings and the architecture.
They do something
what a great comic book for a guy to work on, about a house that's haunted, so to speak. You know. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
did do the architecture there.
That's great.
Did design the house. Yeah.
We've got TB saying he didn't love the art. Tyler wasn't a fan.
Okay.
I have mixed feelings on the art. Like, I did like it. However, this is a horror book, but it's not the most horrific horror book, if you know what I'm trying to say. But I'm usually used to kind of that scratchy, kind of dark art for horror books, and this wasn't
like how Sabrina was.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, but this wasn't like that. It's still good. I still enjoyed it, but it's not what I thought it would be for a horror story.
Yeah, Firehawk saying the art seemed gritty, but he found it a bit cartoony. I'm kind of the same as you there, Firehawk, and you just say the backgrounds were awesome though, which I agree with. But Daryl hits the nail on the head for me. I think he's saying I had that reaction. I grew into it due to the story. I think I'm with Daryl there for me.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely a grower, not a shower. When looking like, this is one of the first comics I ever read. This is my third time reading this now, and I love it. And seeing the first few pages, you're like, oh, okay, it's a bit, the faces are a bit strange. It's not what we're used to. I think the colors in the book are muted, rightly so, because of the theme, the genre, the horror kind of thrillery style of the book. But it's the story, and it's what do the keys do? Where's the next key? What's going to happen? And it's all about keys. And it's just I could read that as a novel and be really happy with it. And I think it is literally just about the story. Obviously it's about the art.
I think the artwork for me, I found it grim and grotesque for sure, cartoony at the same time. But I will say it did fit the story, and I think, like Daryl said, as I read on, the two did kind of like sync up for me, and I was like, oh, okay, this kind of fits the kind of cartoony grimness of it all.
Yeah.
But I thought the character designs were great as well, and the key designs, all of that stuff. I liked how you could tell, like, each of the characters had enough that would distinguish them away from other people in that comic. So you had, like, Tyler, who was the big kind of Hawkins son, and then you had Bodhi and Kinsey. Is that her name?
Yeah,
Kinsey. Yeah, so she had kind of like her crazy hair and stuff with the green, and then the design of Dodge as the was great. Coming out of the well.
Yeah. There were, like, obviously with the art, there were quite tragic, horrific moments. Obviously, you mentioned it's got the colorways, but the blood popped more.
Oh yeah,
where there was blood in the scene, it definitely was more apparent.
Like, I love the art of the, whenever Bodhi would go through the door to become a ghost.
Yeah.
Like the colors on that. Like, I know it's only like a light blue, but the way it's done, like how they just use one color to completely draw the outline and a bit of some features of the character, and then kind of wispy ghosty bits. It's great, and I loved all of those.
Yeah, Comic Band saying fantasy horror suits the book more than it would if it was gritty and gothic. Yeah, I agree. I think we're all looking, apart from our man Tyler here, I think we look, just skimming through the comments, I think the art was appreciated, really, from looking at the art. Felt really familiar to me, but can't place where I've seen similar art before, says Liam.
I think for me, the faces felt similar to Once and Future. Not, I know like Dan Mora's faces are completely different, but it had that realistic cartoony style like Dan Mora.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know. I see what you mean. Like Scott said, it had a very kind of animated vibe to it at the same time. TB's kind of extending his comment. He says, "While I didn't love the art, I was sucked into the story and didn't care because I just wanted to find out where it was going." Yeah, I completely agree with that. Totally.
That's the thing. Like for me, it's like 75% story, 25% art. That's what I'm in this for. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I can't wait to keep reading more. Like I've got 6 volumes. I've read 3 of them. I'm going to read the other 3, and I'm just loving it.
Yeah, I'm in it for the story, and I am going to continue reading. The art for me is a bonus because I love the art. So if it's the same artist throughout the entire run, I'm going to be incredibly happy.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay the art though, because it kind of sounds like I didn't like it, and I did. I just, when I first started reading, I was all like, "Oh, this isn't usually my kind of style that I would warm to." But then it didn't take long at all. Once I kind of picked up the atmosphere of that story, I kind of realized that those two things did go together really well. Like particularly like you said, Scott, about the tones that they used. Because let's be honest, for those that haven't read, there's no kind of pizzazz of color in this, really, is there? No. It is a very kind of like monotone, but again, I think that probably helps keep it a very dark and gothic kind of feel to it. If it had a lot of splashes of color and stuff, it maybe lose a little bit of the vibe.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm similar to you, Dana. When I first started reading it and looking at the art, it was the same. I wasn't expecting like the horror book we kind of got, but it wasn't just horror. It was really like a real intense thriller, I thought. And to be honest, like I don't like reading the source material of a TV show that I've already watched. I've already watched the television show on Netflix, so I wasn't really looking forward to reading this, because I do it the other way. You read the source material first, then watch the show, and you pick out what was left out and put in, and so on and so forth. So, but I was a bit skeptical about reading this, but delighted I did, because I also quite loved it.
Caroline saying that her and Adam preferred the art gallery at the end.
It's quite good.
But I'm the same as you, Phil, if I'm honest with you. Because I watched the series before I read this. I was kind of worrying that it was going to ruin the Netflix series for me. It was going to kind of, we all know the book is usually better than the movie. And I was worried that this book was really going to make me not want to carry on watching with the Netflix stuff. Yeah.
It's like I started to read Harry Potter after I watched the movies, and it didn't work. So don't do that. So I knew I wasn't looking forward to this in that way. But again, I will read on, because did Scott say before that each volume of this book is a series and a TV show? Is that right?
Well, yeah. No. Episode 1 is pretty much volume 1.
Oh, okay.
With some added extras, and then all of season 1 is pretty much the whole of the 6 volumes.
No. I felt like this volume was more like half of the series. Because we find out stuff in this book that we don't find out till halfway through the series.
Well, but the stuff that happens in episode 1 that never happens in this book either.
So they've picked out bits, haven't they?
Yeah.
It seems like there's mixed feelings as well about the TV show. So you've got Adam here saying didn't love the TV show, and that's probably because this is one of his favorite comic books. But then we've got Firehawk saying, he thinks that they can both stand alone. as a show and a comic. I also didn't. I think if I'd have read the book first and then watched the Netflix show, I may probably have not enjoyed the Netflix show as much as I did without having read this. That makes sense.
Yeah, because of the spoilers in the book. I think I prefer seeing the spoilers and then reading them to reading them and then seeing them. I think I'm that way around.
Yeah, definitely.
While
this
I was
time,
reading, I was waiting for things to happen, which I knew were coming. So I was excited as I was reading because I wanted to see how that would convert into comic form. So I was like, "Oh, I wonder when this is going to happen. How are they going to do this? Because this was quite good in motion. It's great, but how are you going to do that on pages?" So I was pleasantly surprised with how they handled that.
Okay,
let's how they took from the comic to the show.
Let's talk about some of the artwork then that we've kind of selected as our favorite stuff. But before we do that, because I can see Tyler's made a comment here, he said, with the style of art, I was completely surprised at how dark this story got. The trucker scene, the bus, basically everything with the kid. Now, can I just say, like, the page I was going to choose was the trucker scene, because how can we not have this episode about this book and not talk about Roadhead? Like,
no. There were 2 pages in this book that you could have taken out. They weren't needed. They were only there for the shock factor, and it was that scene and at the beginning, or the flashback when you find out what the axe wielding kid did to the mother. They didn't need those in. They weren't needed in the book.
I personally think, yes, we need more Roadhead in comic books. That's
Maybe the Roadhead was put there to show like what Sam would do.
It's a 17-year-old boy. I don't need to see that in my comic books.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. The shock factor of it was I think
it wasn't needed.
I couldn't work out what they were trying to do. Were they trying to show you as a reader like the lengths he will go to for these keys, or were they showing you that he was, because we saw his family and the background to that, where his mom didn't treat him very nice, his dad was abusive. Like, are we kind of seeing that it's more like Cormac McCarthy's child of God kind of thing, where if you treat people like that, what do you expect? How do you expect them to behave in society? Like, I couldn't work out what they were trying to do with those bits.
I figured it was just he's just his dad's son, isn't he? They have to put like child sex scenes in their writing. So, Stephen King did it with It. So he just felt like he had to do it. It wasn't needed. You could just take that panel out.
What can I do to bring the gross factor into my book?
Got any kids?
Some weird sexual stuff. Get that in. People will love it.
Yeah, I just feel like you could just remove that one panel, because you can have the rest of it where he talks to him about how to make the money. You can have that part. He tells him.
Yeah, you could have referenced this rather than shown it, I guess. Yeah, I can see what you mean there. All right, let's move on from that. I just wanted to get that elephant out of the room there. You know what I mean? Like, somebody was bound to bring it up.
Yeah,
all right, no, I thought, what, it may as well be me rather than loads of people in the chat there going, why are you talking about Roadhead? You know what I mean? We might as well get it out of the way.
Roadhead.
All right, then let's go for it. Shane, do you want to go through your chosen page first, mate?
Yeah, so I chose this panel because this one actually got me in the feels. The rest of the book I was enjoying, and I was excited, and I was on the edge of my seat, and it was thrills and chills, but this one actually like proper broke my heart, not just because of what he's saying, but the reflection in the urn of him holding his family's hands, and they're not there, like there's no head, you can't see them, you can just see him, and it just proper hit me right in the heart. I loved it.
Are you tearing up?
It was like my dad was cremated as well, so like I appreciate this scene very much. It was. But
so this actually meant something to you on that personal level. Wow,
really, really beautifully done.
And there was me thinking you chose this just because of the derp face. That was you chose.
No, I loved his derp face when he passed out. I thought it was hilarious, especially when Kenzie like poking him. She's like, "Get up, I'm going now."
I did like those 4 panels. I think it was round about this part when she thinks he's joking, doesn't she? And she's like, "Oh, this isn't funny." She like walks away, comes back, and he's like just like still there, not moved. Yeah, I love that bit.
quite good.
Yeah.
She peeks her head around the corner, make sure he's
Yeah.
He hasn't even
Takes me back to when we read I Hate Fairyland with the
when Gert's
with the-
unconscious.
when she's unconscious and he just has his old life.
Okay, Scott, how about you, mate? Let's see your recommended page that you enjoyed.
This is the page. Like, Sam is a very unlikable character in this book, obviously, but he is the driving force of the story. And I think it was this page that just kind of shown what he'll do. He's done it. What he has done and what he will continue to do to get to what he wants, and it's just like just chatting with this boat driver, shoots him. I love how the big middle panel is so far away, and it just shows that like there's nothing around. It's just those two, and you just have that little bang, the little word bang. And he just comes back to Sam, and he's just holding the steering wheel. His eyes haven't moved. He hasn't moved his gaze at all. And he's just done this heartlessly and just killed this guy, taking control of the boat. And now he's got his light thrown and ready to burn the boat. And I just thought it just shows, just with not a lot of words, just really showing the type of person he is. And I really enjoyed that.
But
the scene before this did the same, didn't it, with the bus?
Yeah.
When you see him just walking from the bus to the guy, that was
Well, what you've just said there, Scott, about not a lot of words, that really feeds into the page I chose, which I wouldn't say it's like a crazy interesting one, but I picked this just because there's a lot of panels in this where it doesn't even use dialogue. And I absolutely loved it. It was so good. And I don't know whether it's because we've been reading quite a lot of books that have quite a lot of dialogue, but I thought this was quite refreshing, and there's kind of like one part in the volume where I think it's like 3 or 4 pages don't have any text on them at all. And I just thought that's a clever use of artwork and panels. Like, I like that in comic books. Like, you don't need to tell me all the time. Like, you can show me, and I thought that they did that really well in this book.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
and this is one of the differences between the book and the TV show. How that key works.
Oh, what, that particular key there?
Yeah, in the book you have to use it to a door, through a door, but in the TV show it goes under the chin.
Ah.
Yeah. Phil, how about your page, mate? Do you want to talk us through your page? I think, Scott, you already mentioned this one earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
This was my pick until I got to my page. That's awesome.
It's just like I spent the longest. I spent the longest time looking at this through the whole book. Like that axe is embedded like 2 inches into like his skull, and like his eyes are popping. Like he's just as
the one eye just to the side is fantastic.
Yeah. The blood's gushing out of his mouth, and like I don't like gore or such, but I just think like and even like the mom, like she's obviously crying, she's cut up, her dress is ripped, she's been in that room, and you look at her face, like she's obviously teared up, but like it's like she's biting her lip, like she's putting every bit of energy and force into that swing. And I almost felt like I heard it in my head when I read it, like I heard the impact of that axe.
Like you can see that she's hating that, but needs to do it.
But also, like the few pages before that was the scene where obviously they killed the dad, and they spotted Tyler and his brother and sister outside, and they started looking for them type thing. Like that was intense. Few pages. It was just quite a tense situation, and that wallop just ended. Like that was the end type thing. I was just like, I just thought it was great. And even like I'm not saying very daft, but like the wood grain on the wooden floor and on the door, the kind of the background looked pretty interesting too, just for being a simple door.
I think this goes back to what Adam was saying about him being an architect, because a lot of the background stuff, particularly with the houses, it did have quite a lot of detail, as in, you did see like grain of wood, and so it wasn't just kind of coloured brown with a few marks on it. Like there were quite a lot of details in there.
Yeah. But like that's someone just mentioned in the chat, that's a pure zombie kill. That was great.
Yeah, Firehawk says pure zombie kill. Right, before we move on and talk about some of the writing, then we've got Tyler here saying he wanted to talk about that part. I'm presuming the bit that we had up on the screen just there. What was the point of changing? Oh, it's the panel I had. Sorry. What was the point of changing her gender? That whole scene kind of didn't make sense to me. I thought personally that was so that they, you know, he's old. What was her name? The teacher.
The gym teacher.
Yeah, he basically went back to his old form, didn't he?
Yeah.
That he didn't turn. She didn't turn into him. She turned back into him.
Yeah.
Thank you. You just articulated that way better than I was trying to do.
Yeah, she was originally him, and if you keep reading, you'll find out.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it as well. Nanubi saying it's probably more to do with how Dodge affects different people, so changing gender helps influence them. I think that's probably a factor of it as well, you know, because if, like, say that teacher who he was in love with him years ago, like, wouldn't have recognized him, would they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he's able to manipulate the teacher because they have the past type thing. Yeah. I kind of like that though. I liked the thing that I liked about that the most as well is just that all of those keys, the one that we can change gender, go through the doors and all of that, like, it made it feel like this book, like, anything was possible. Like, I could turn the page and something would be there to make me go, wow, you know.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the big selling points of this story as a whole, isn't it? It's like, what key will they think of next? What will they find? What will that key do? How will it affect people? How can you use it to your advantage? Like, I really loved how they used the ghost key to trap Sam as a ghost. You know what I mean? You know, that was savage, but that's something that, you know, when we're reading, we're just going, oh, okay, you can become a ghost, you go back in your body, cool. But I'm willing to bet that most people never thought, what if you shut the door? What if someone closes the door, goes, oh, there's a dead body there, let's move that, shut the door, it's cold. And then the ghost is like, what the hell, where do I go? How do I get my body back? And it's just that, you know, it's cool. I love the whole mystery behind the keys and how they work.
Did Dodge take the key from the ghost door?
Someone did.
When he pushed him through, he locked it and took the key, didn't he? Because Bodhi does say he can't find the key again.
Yeah. I was confused by that. They couldn't find the key. That's right. At the end, the siblings couldn't find it.
We just didn't see him take it. That's all.
Yeah. You do. I think when I first read that, I was kind of like, oh, what's happened there? But I think the key was taken, because I think that does come into play a bit later on. So okay, let's move on to the writing then. Let's get into the meat and bones of the writing then. We seem to have naturally progressed there. So Phil, you want to start with the writing, mate? What did you make of it?
I mean, I don't know much about Joe Hill, and I know he's got a famous dad who writes a lot of books, but does Joe Hill write novels as well? Because this, like we mentioned earlier on, this could be a novel in the way it was written. Like, it wasn't too it's not like it's putting too much jargon in your mind about the mystic keys and stuff, but it was enough to kind of intrigue and keep the story going. But I thought, like, the writing was more about, obviously, the family, more about the Tyler and his sister and his brother and their kind of grief as such, you know. And I just like the way it was relevant in terms of, it's like almost like 3 stages of grief for the 3 siblings, and they're like, you can understand it all almost, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I thought the writing was top, was good. I liked it, and I want to read more. I've never read Joe Hill before. I'll read more when I read the other volumes, of course.
Shane, how about you, mate?
Yeah, I think he did really well with showing the trauma of the kids. You know, Bodhi was kind of he was kind of okay. You know, he was the young one, so he was kind of able to brush it off. But then you see when he's constantly dreaming of his dad. But their daughter, you can see what she goes through when she's on her own, and I thought that was heartbreaking. And even Ty, when he's on his own, the way they show they each deal with 3 separate ways with what they all went through together, and I thought that was really well done.
Yeah,
I think you are right. I think you're spot on there. This book does display, or at least showcase, traumatic effect quite well. I think really, like you just said perfectly there about the kids, but I think that also extends to the other characters as well, like the mom.
Yeah, she drinks too much now.
Yeah, you know, it extends to the mom, and yeah,
Brother.
I think you really do see the tragedy falling out of these characters. Like, you know, it's just spilling out, isn't it? But my God, doesn't make for good writing, you know. Just before we move on, Caroline saying, I feel like Ty had no arc, and Bodhi was back in fourth in intelligence. Yeah, I kind of like Ty. I think will probably come into play more down the line, won't he? I think.
Yeah, but I think Bodhi went.
I don't want to give too much away because I have read a bit further.
No, but I think Bodhi went up in intelligence because he was very childlike at the beginning. You know, he's fishing and he's playing and mucking about. But then when he goes to Echo at the end and he's like, I'm not coming back here because I know you're lying. I know you're not my Echo. You know, you see that maturity go up. I don't think it goes up and down personally.
Yeah.
I think he was
as a child,
smart.
it took him a while to get there.
See, this is the thing. If you remember, I think it was issue 2. It started off with Bodhi's comic he drew in school, and the teacher was kind of questioning about him, and the comic was really sad. But obviously there was like spelling mistakes and things like that. So I was getting the image that Tyler or Bodhi was really, really young. Like I was thinking like 4 years old or something, like quite young. But then obviously you read on, and he is quite he's young in terms he can brush things off, but he's still quite mature. It's kind of, you're right, dealing with gods at the end and so on. And yeah, it's hard to picture.
I'm kind of in the middle of all you guys. Really, I can see where Caroline's coming from though, because he did flick between, like you said, Shane. You did see that maturity level go up, but he did swing sometimes. You had moments of immaturity and stuff coming out, but I guess that's explained. You know, he's a kid overall. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I can kind of see where that comes from. And we just check the comments here.
With the joke.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to bring this up.
Hang on, Adam's saying the most horrific thing in this book isn't anything supernatural. It's the fact that Sam killed Rendell Locke because Tyler made that offhand comment after the argument he just had with him.
I wanted to bring that up. Like, it's just so creepy with Sam. Just as he brings it up, going like, you know, you asked me to kill your dad. I've done it. I also told him just before I killed him. You should have seen the look on his face. You know, and it's just like, it's so creepy. And like, I agree, that is probably the most horrifying part of the book.
Yeah, I will say though that Sam Lesser was a fantastic villain. I think I liked Sam Lesser, not liked, wrong word, but you know, like I approved of him more as a villain rather than Dodge in this particular volume. And I know that shifts further down the line as we get into it, but in this, all of the kind of shock and tragedy and violence really does come from Sam in this volume.
Yeah, but isn't it all orchestrated by Dodge?
I was going to say, and stuff, and like, did obviously Sam was coming for the keys whenever they killed the dad, so Dodge was obviously in his mind long before, so that like it was almost like this is her plan all along, to kill the dad, to get the family back to the house, to manipulate Bodhi to get the key. So it's like,
but that doesn't make sense though, because why would Dodge want him dead when she knows that, or he knew that he hid the Anywhere key? So surely he would have wanted him alive.
Who, the dad?
Yeah, because he said
the parents don't know, and as you get older, they don't believe in the keys and other thing. Like where it's like if you're the older you are,
no. Well, yeah, don't forget though. Like the Rendell wasn't supposed to die. He was sent there to get the keys, and Rendell stood up, didn't he? He was like, "Give me the keys," and he stood up and he said, "Like, if you're gonna shoot me, shoot me." You know, that's how that plays out. You know, but you're not. I don't know what you're on about. You're not getting what you want, and of course, I don't think he was supposed to die. Sam was just supposed to get those keys from him.
But have I read this wrong then? Because there was a few comments that said like even the brother. Like, so we used to play these games when we were a kid about we had these keys and done this and that. Like, I thought as they get older, they almost like lose belief in that these keys exist.
It's like Peter Pan, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that, am I right? Did I pick that up right? Or is that?
Yeah.
You know?
I think so. Yeah, there's hints in there. They say that adults can't understand magic, or they can't comprehend magic, can they?
Yeah.
On that front. So I don't think you're too far off there, Phil, with
I
it.
think the memory just gets shifted maybe on it
Mm.
to more like, oh, this didn't really happen. We just pretended it, and whatever. But it did actually happen.
Because even Tyler at the end kind of questions whether he became a ghost, didn't he? He was like, "Oh, I thought he did kill me, and I thought I saw things." And he's like, "But I must have just." So
he thought it was all in his mind.
Yeah.
I will say that particular scene there, towards the end, when all that kicks off and Sam breaks out, and that's pretty terrifying for a conclusion of a book. Really, that's edgy your seat reading. That is, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it definitely gripped me.
Yeah, good that Kingsley got a little bit of closure.
Yeah.
Because she kept calling herself a coward, and she did what she protected Bodhi. So, she was very hard on herself. She protected her little brother, but she got to sort of scare him off and save Tyler, didn't she? So that was a nice thing for her.
Just while we mentioned the writing as well, it's kind of like Dom, you mentioned that, like the part where she was describing the fact that she almost was like choking Bodhi, and she was biting her lips so hard, like even that kind of detail in the writing to describe that kind of thing, that you got your little brother and you don't want him to make a noise in case the bad guys see him, so you're almost like holding him so tight, you're like choking him so he doesn't speak. I love that too, like that kind of detail.
Yeah, it's just that kind of detail. Yeah, you didn't know you need until it's there.
Yeah,
it made you feel it.
The noob is saying there's a lot of this that has similarities to Stephen King's It. Pennyworth influences Henry Bowers to do his bidding in the same way that Dodge influences Sam. Like, I kind of see that,
Yeah,
he's just following his father's blueprints, I suppose. What
Why not, man? Why not? I think this is far enough removed from Pennywise, because the technique used for writing there may have been familiar, but the added factor of the keys and stuff like that definitely gave this. I didn't feel like this was something that was derivative to a point where I'm like, okay, he's copied this from somewhere else.
No,
I didn't
it's
feel
hard
that.
not to. If you grow up with your dad telling you these stories, it's hard not to be influenced, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just picture Stephen King reading these stories to his son, like a 10-year-old, like It and all these kind of scary novels. In bed. Night, sleep tight.
Kerry tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, there's got to be some influence if your dad is like a huge author like Stephen King. But I will say, for me, like I found the writing in this absolutely brilliant. Like, I'll be honest, I'll come clean. I have not read any Joe Hill stuff at all. This is my first experience of Joe Hill, and I am hooked. I instantly want more. And this book, to me, just compelled me to read on. Like, it wouldn't let me put the thing down. Like, I couldn't walk away from it. I had to know what happened next. And so much so that I'll confess, I read all the way from volume 1 to the end of volume 4, like pretty much, like
read more than me.
Pretty much over the course of 2 days.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I read this in one go.
I've got to give kudos for the writing, I guess, because this is the third time I've read this. Third time I've read volume 1, and each time, like, I'm not bored of it. I still find all the characters engaging. I still get, like when Dodge jumps out of the well behind Bodhi, I still get, I go, oh, you know what I mean? That kind of shivery, creepy, oh my God, that kind of reaction to it. And it's just, I think it's just fantastic, just the way that it's done. I'm more than happy, I read this for the third time. I'm more than happy to read it for a fourth and a fifth, and hopefully find more and more stuff each time I read it. And it's just brilliant.
Scott, have you read the full series?
No, I've already read the first 3.
TB Collects is saying he saw an interview where Stephen King talks about Joe and how he changed his name because he didn't want to live off his dad's fame. That is very true. That's why Joe Hill is Joe Hill and not Joe King, which that just sounds weird anyway when you say that.
I also know a Joe King.
I'm pretty certain his dad helped him get his foot in the door. You know, he didn't make it on his own. I'm sure he was helped in the door.
I don't know, you know. I mean, some people like that are quite funny, aren't they? You know, if you've got the children of famous people, they're almost kind of don't want to be associated with their parents. Yeah. They want to do it themselves. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about Joe Hill's background. Like I said, this is my first read, and Firehawks as well. First Joe Hill here, he says. I like the style of writing. It seemed to flow and make sense throughout. And Sean the Newbie saying Basket Full of Heads and Dollhouse Family are great too.
Dollhouse Family, Joe Hill. I read that. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Like, I know all the titles. I've just never picked them up. It's like, to me, I'm always like, I'll get round to that. I'll get round to that. Everyone says that it's good, and I just never get round to it, you know.
Yeah. He did something that I don't normally like, especially in a trade, is when he focused on one character per issue. Excuse me. But it was done so well, and I really enjoyed seeing the insight into each of them and how they're dealing and what they're doing. I thought it was done really well, and I don't normally like that thing. Like, if you're doing a book, I want bits of everything in every issue, but I thought it was done really well.
I agree. Totally agree. And I think what we've kind of touched on a little bit, but I think I just want to kind of like cement it a little bit in the episode here as well, is that we talked a lot about tragedy and, you know, the kind of grotesque cartoony art and stuff, but this does heartfelt really well as well. There are some really kind of sweet moments in this Locke Key. You agree?
100%. Yeah. It's got a bit of everything. Yeah, I know it's a horror book, a thriller book, whatever, fantasy as well, but it's got its heartwarming bits and its scary bits, and it's, you know, it's got a bit of everything for everyone.
I think, like Phil said, that the heartwarming stuff comes from that family, because this is essentially, you know, the family dynamic and the story around those three children and the mom,
the uncles, the rock almost.
Yeah, is just as important to telling this story as the house itself and the keys, you know. And I thought that was really good. That was really clever how those things run parallel and each have their own importance in telling that story. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, and the way it finished with a massive, oh my god, he's found another key, and then look how many other keys there are. So now I want like a trade for every key. I want one trade per key, and I'll be quite happy. I thought that was awesome. Just look how many keys, and then you get to see, and some of them you can guess what they do, and then some you have no idea, which is awesome. So they can just be anything. But, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of the keys can do and how the family deal.
Yeah, I thought the keys were just a great. I mean, because you could have told this essentially as it was a haunted house, you know, with ghosts in there or something. Like, you could have done that, but the keys just add a special bit of magic to this. You know,
it's such a simple concept as well. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's just have a key that does something when you walk through a door.
That's the thing. It is simple, but it's like, it's weird that you don't, like, a lot of people don't think of it. Like, it's so simple.
Yeah,
he's made it a big thing, if you know what I mean. It's like, why didn't no one else think of this? Like, why's it taking like 2010? Of all the years of writing comics and stories and horror things, why is it taking 2010 for someone to write about keys? It's strange.
We've got a correction here as well. Dollhouse wasn't written by Hill, says Albert Langford. Thanks for joining us, Albert, and thanks for giving us some information there as well.
I think Joe Hill, it's like his imprint, or I don't know if it's the word imprint, but it's like he's kind of in charge of all those kind of
he's almost practically got his own universe now, hasn't he? Like Joe Hill, you know. TB Collects is saying, I grew up the baby in the family with an older sister and older brother, and it hit me in the field seeing myself as Bodhi running around and exploring. See, it's amazing how many people have like a bit of a personal vibe going with this book.
Did you ever find any special keys, Taylor?
It'd be weird now he just walks in behind you. Yes.
So I just thought this was magic. This isn't a book that relies on gimmicks to drive it forward. This isn't a book that relies on any sort of kind of manipulation of you. This is a book that relies on good storytelling and, you know, matching the artwork with that in order to give you a kind of an experience of reading a good comic book. That's what I felt. That's the bottom line for me with the writing.
Yeah.
Scott looks like he's going to cry.
Just like it's just
So happy.
Yeah, I am chuffed. Like you didn't like Once and Future that much. That was another book I loved, and I don't like. This is the book This is the book that introduced me to comics, more or less. This is what hooked me.
We are all very grateful.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Joe Hill.
Yeah,
Thanks, Joe.
This has a special place in my heart, and it's just great. And I think, yeah, I was actually a bit nervous about suggesting this book because I didn't want it slated, and I'll probably never bring Seven Secrets into this show either.
But I might.
No.
I have to add as well, like I've been trying to make a point now every week we do this to try and buy the book, because I like reading physical books, but I also feel like when you're reading something, it adds to the experience almost, like if you're reading the book as opposed to digital. So I bought the Master Edition, which has volume 1 and 2.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's a really lovely book. And I do feel like I will enjoy the book more when you're reading in this kind of format. Hardcover, larger art pages. It's just like, so if you are kind of looking into this, I do recommend pick that up. But I just feel like I have a better time reading physical books.
I'm kind of with you on this one, Phil. I think if ever you were gonna, I just had it on the screen there. Adam just said, great intro into comics. I think if you were ever gonna kind of keep a book, this would be the one. So yeah, I think it's worth splashing out a few extra pennies and getting this in a really nice format, because you're gonna want to keep this one on your shelf. I think, for me personally.
I'm looking for the box set that Scott's got. I want that. I want that case box set.
Yeah,
and me as well. All right, folks, let's do it. Glasses are off. The glasses are on. You know what time it is, folks.
Time to get your waves out.
No, it's not time to get waves out. Stop jumping the gun. We are going to do the final thoughts, and we're going to do the final scores. So you know the drill if you're watching live right now. If you've read along this week or you've read it previously, drop your final thoughts and your score out of 0 to 10. And we'll see what everybody thinks of this. Phil, over to you, buddy.
I don't want to go first. There's not a lot more to say than what we've already said. The issue I had at the start, I mentioned, was the art for me wasn't look like it was going to fit with the story. But then we've said before, as you read on, it fits perfectly. It is cartoony, but it's not like it's Disney cartoony or like I Hate Fairyland cartoony. It's still gritty. It's still kind of grim. But I love the intense nature of like some of the art. And I mentioned before that scene where they killed the father. Was it Al Grubb and Sam Lesser killed the father and chased the kids and stuff? Like it was really tense. I liked it. I like that feeling of being tense and kind of what's going to happen next. Yeah, I read it all in one sitting. Loved it. First Joe Hill. Loved it. I wanted to read on, but I purposely didn't, just because I wanted to not have my mind clouded, but I'm going to read on. So yeah, loved it. I feel under pressure because Scott's going to shoot me if I don't score high enough.
You don't listen to him. Do not submit to the pressure.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Nice.
8 out of 10 is my score. Again, just the few things at the start kind of put me off at the start, but that's my own fault rather than the books, I suppose. But 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's an 8 from the money himself. Shane, over to you, mate.
I absolutely loved this. From start to finish, I loved it. There were literally, like I said, those 2 panels that you could take out. That I really didn't like those 2 panels being in the book. Personal preference, but the rest of the book I loved. I loved every single member of the family. They all added something, and they all, like, you could see the dynamics between each of them, and it was fantastic. So you'd get Brody and Tyler, and it was fantastic. I don't have a bad thing to say about this book. I am definitely going to read more, but just because, like I say, those 2 panels, I'm not going to score it down for 2 small panels. So overall, for me, this is a solid 9.5. I really enjoyed this.
Ooh, 9.5. Scott, go.
Are you crying?
No, just
Oh, not you as well.
Somebody
Will you all stop crying, please?
Might as well
so-
just skip Scott. It's going to be a 10, of course.
This book, you know, it's a thriller. It's mystical. It's magical. It's fantastical. It's got all the emotional bits that it was just right. Family dynamics, like we've all said, are fantastic. I liked what Shane said there with like each, like if you group different family members, they all react differently. And there wasn't. Sometimes I read a book and I'm kind of bored of one character. I'm like, oh right, easier. Let's get past him. That didn't happen at all throughout this book. I loved every character, and I felt like everything had its own special place and purpose. Third time, like I said, third time reading this through, I'm not bored. I still love it. It's amazing. But it's not a perfect, obviously. So like Shane, I'm going for 9.5 as well.
Nice.
It's a 9.5
yourself in the mirror, Scott, that he didn't give
from
that a 10.
Scott. Right, folks. I'll get mine out of the way. If you haven't dropped your score in there, do it now, and we'll catch it all afterwards. Before we do mine, let's just have a quick look what everybody is saying so far in here as well. We've got it's a 9 from Sean. Hold on, because I'm just going to get the computer here so I can just tick them off as well. So it's a 9 from Sean the noob. We've got Caroline saying it's a 4 from her, but it's a 7 from Adam. We've got Comic Band saying, I've read along this week. I've lost count of how many times I've read this book now.
Wow.
I'm just going to give it a 10 out of 10. What they do in 6 issues here is incredible.
And he's read a lot of stuff.
TB Collects says, didn't love the art, but I was so hooked into the story, the keys, the killer, thriller, the house, etc., that I just kept turning pages. 9 out of 10 for him. We've got Albert Langford, who's saying 9 out of 10. Nice. Firehawk is saying 9.5. It was emotional, gory, and suspenseful. Story carried the art, but art went hand in hand with the story. We'll be reading more. Me too, buddy. Liam is saying, hang on, the chat's just jumped on me. I'm coming back to you, Liam. Don't worry. We are coming back. Liam is saying, really good book. Looking forward to reading more. 7.5 out of 10. Albert amends his score to a 9.5.
Good boy.
Sneaks that in there. And we've got Daryl, who says, a solid 8 out of 10 for me. Great story and pulled me in, and I want to keep reading more. So that's what everybody is saying in there, right? I'll get mine out of the way and we'll do final scores. For me, I have to say, Scott, I personally think this is probably the best book you've picked on the Nerd Head so far, mate, in my opinion.
I've peaked.
I like I said, I was initially put off by the artwork, but not because it was bad, just because that usually isn't a style I would gravitate towards. So I was a little bit worried, but it didn't take me long. Literally just a few pages in, I was all like, the vibe matches. It all goes hand in hand, as somebody said there. And I love the character designs. I loved that, you know, I mean, this isn't a superhero book, so there's not, you know, what can you do with regular, normal looking people? But I think Gabriel Rodriguez did enough to really kind of pull me in visually to these characters. And Joe did that with the writing of those characters by giving them personality. So from both angles, that was perfect with all of that stuff. The Roadhead was brilliant. Loved that part. I thought that was great. This is genuinely just a great book. I said it earlier. This is not a book that you're just gonna buy and it's gonna hit you with gimmicks to kind of keep you reading. This is just good storytelling, and this is what comic books are for. This particular book, there, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Phil, do you want to amend your score? I'm joking.
7.5.
Are you awake? Are you tired for this, or do you want to be more awake? So
Yeah,
the Justice League stuff.
Yeah,
Well, let's see where it all falls then.
Get the abacus out.
The average. We don't need an abacus. We've got a back computer. The average score that everybody participating in this episode gave was 8.2.
Nice.
Which I think that's pretty good, given that our average score that we hand out is a 7.1. 8.2 is pretty good, man. We here, us 4 plebs, we gave this an average of 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Nice.
So let's have a look where this falls on the Nerderd leaderboard. 9 out of 10 is gonna, let me move that banner as well. 9 out of 10 is gonna put this. It's in third place, I think.
I am happy with that.
Oh, it's knocking 3 books off of third spot.
Yep. So Paul, Klaus, and the Hictor go down into 4, and this takes the third spot there, number 3. And I think we're not too far off each other as well. Everyone here, you know, they've given that an 8.2. We've given that a 9. I think we're all in the ballpark on this one. I think we all really, really appreciated this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Scott's happy now. He's going to be happy for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
We're not going to hear last of this. Scott's going to be so big-headed in the chat.
Oh, no, it won't last long. As Tyler says here, it's all downhill from here, Scott.
No, can't pick anything better now.
Get on
Your
As long as it's better than Secret Wars.
Your next pick is Wacky Raceland 2. Is that what we're going to be doing?
They won't release it, man. It's that bad.
This is the thing, Scott. Like, you've picked Wacky Raceland and Locke Key. They couldn't be 2 different books. It's just like pick a genre.
Hey, I like what
Totally
I like.
agree.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that is it for episode 25. I'm conscious of the time here. So I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, give us a thumbs up as well. And let's have a whiz round, and everyone could let you know what they've got going on this week. Let's go this way. Phil?
I have nothing going on my channel. I'm hopefully going to kickstart that again maybe next week. But or something happened this Saturday, which I can't quite remember, but maybe somebody else on the panel will be able to enlighten us.
Possibly. Shane, yourself?
The quiz, Dawn of Comics quiz night, will be up at 9 p.m. UK time on Friday.
I'm on that. So.
Yep, 2 of my 3 fellow geeks here will be attending.
2 best ones.
Yeah.
The third best one wasn't there.
No, he didn't want to show up. Said he's had enough.
Rugby was on.
Shane, you want to remind us what time that is?
9 o'clock UK time. And there's a viewer competition. That's a lot easier than the last one, I promise. I promise you it's a lot easier than last time.
No.
There you go, folks. Tune in for that, and you can win yourself some goodies. Mr. Shelf, how about you, sir?
Shelf, we have got Comic Airwaves coming on this Saturday at 8:30 in the GMTs. Phil, myself, and Liam have been working hard on some new stuff for this show. Do definitely tune in. We're going to be sorting out our giveaway. We're going to be announcing the rules for the next giveaway, and we've got a few extra little special bits coming up. So do tune in.
We have been working Liam to the bone, so come see his hard work.
Liam is, yeah.
Poor Welsh.
There we go. You want to say the time and date again, mate? Just remind people.
Saturday, the 27th of March, 8:30 p.m. GMT.
There we go then, folks. I will just end us with a few shouts, as I usually do. And the first one I want to send out today is for Slim Comics and More. I think most of us in the community know Slim. He's having a 500 subscriber giveaway, and you can enter internationally as well. So I've just dropped the link to that video in the chat there. So if you haven't subscribed to Slim, go over. He's a lovely bloke as well. He's absolutely diamond chap. Next up is you've probably seen the next 2 that I want to drop in here for you. If you're not subscribed to these, go check them out. You've got Comic Bound there as well. That's Adam. He will also be on the quiz, on Shane's quiz. So go and check him out.
Comics though.
I've dropped the link in there for his latest video, which is he's looking at the new 52 Swamp Thing omnibus. So go and check that out. He's got a lot of collected editions, and they are all awesome. I'm very jealous of his collection.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And the last person I want to shout out today is go and see our man TB Collects Tyler as well. I've just dropped the link in there for his latest video, and he's putting together he's having another go at binding some comic books and making his own hardbacks. This time it's a little bit larger. So go and check that out. I'm obsessed with it. I watch all of those videos that he puts out. I am obsessed.
Tyler is also on the quiz on Friday.
Tyler is also on the quiz as well. Yeah. So there you go. You'll find them there, and you'll find them on the channels. And if you do like what we do, you're bound to like what they do as well, because we're all similar, all comic book fans. So go check them out if you haven't already. Right then, folks, that is episode 25. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, if you did, give it a cheeky thumbs up. And Phil, what are the magic words to see us out, buddy?
Sorry, you going to tell him what we're reading next week?
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. Just checking.
Suppose I should, shouldn't I, really? All right. Okay, we're not going. Apparently, we're staying here. Next week, folks, we are reading The Court of Owls from DC in 2011.
Yes, go and take top spot.
We're getting some Snyder action. Not that one, the other one. So look out for that.
One.
The other Snyder.
There you go. That's what we're reading for next week. And we'll try this again then. Phil, magic words, please, sir.
Bye-bye. Get your website.